You ready? Hey mommies, welcome to the Pottery Show.
I'm Miriam.
I'm Lachey, aka Shay,
Hey.
and today's topic is dating a single mother. But before we get started with that, I want to do a check-in moment.
Okay.
So my check-in moment is actually my son. I just realized my son is a little bit bougie. So the other day, shout out to Mom Talk Network because we got published officially. Hey. Woo! So that's a good milestone for us. But because I got that in the mail, I was like, oh, we got published. And my son's like, what does that mean? I told him, like, we're in the newspaper and blah, blah, blah. He's like, Mom, you're so famous. I'm going to give me a Bugatti, a Ferrari, this. And I said, slow your roll. Yes, he did, girl. I was like, wait a minute. First of all, I'm not famous. And secondly, your taste, like for you not to have a job, you got a lot going on. Like, you got like, so I realized like the bigger I get, I'm gonna have to really instill those values when it comes to money. Like you don't just spend your money frivolously just to be flashy and things like that. Like I can't stand a flashy person, so I'm gonna have to do some work.
Okay.
So it just showed me like I'm gonna have to do some work, and I'm gonna have to also let him know like, look, I'm rich. You ain't gotta die.
You're in the trust.
Right, this is my money. You ain't got nothing. So I just thought that was funny, but it was like a teachable moment for me to really teach him about money and values. Like our value is not in possession.
Okay.
Our value is in God, and God happens to bless us with these things, but your value is not going to be in there. So I got some work to do, Mom. Pray for me.
I'll pray for you. At least we know he ain't low. He ain't going low. He going high.
Girl, I was like, Lord have mercy. Like he doing too much.
I love it.
Okay, so I have a good show for you guys today. We have a good show for you guys today. Tell them what's on our show today, Mary.
Well, who's on our show? We have a special guest. He is Lachey's father.
That's my daddy?
Yes. Minister Tony.
Yes, that's my dad. My dad is a teacher at a college. He's a professor at a college. He also does IT at Toyota. And he is actually, technically, he's my stepfather, not by blood, biological. But this is what we're going to get into. This is what the topic is about. Dating a single mom. My mother was a single mother before she met my father. And I want to pick his brain. And I wanted our viewers to understand what goes through the mind of a man who's dating a single mother. So without further ado, welcome Daddy. Welcome Daddy to our couch.
Thank you.
So I wanted our viewers to get a man's perspective of dating a single mother.
Okay.
And it would definitely help us. So first question, how and where did you meet Mommy?
Well, we met at the church. Primarily, I met her through a cousin. And, you know, I had asked the Lord that primarily was her cousin actually was supposed to be my wife. But he revealed that, no, that was just not happening. So fortunately, her cousin introduced me to my current wife of 29 years.
Woo! So yeah, this year will be 30 years and a big old party.
Wow,
Yes,
seriously?
yes.
Okay.
So thank God that you did listen, because who's to say where you would have been with the cousin?
Yeah, and that's a blessing too, because some people override the voice of the Lord. Like they're like, no, I want this person. Who's gonna be with, and years later it's like, what happened?
Disaster.
Because you didn't listen.
Right.
Man, that's awesome.
Facts.
Well, not quite, because I wasn't really looking for a wife at that particular time. It was just that we were introduced in the church. And so she became my prayer partner, and, you know, question where I can ask her questions about the scriptures, because I was newly saved. So it wasn't really that I was actually getting ready to date her. I didn't know that that was in the plan. But things happen.
Things happen, yeah. So when you first saw your wife, your now wife, right? Your beautiful mother.
Yes.
How did you Like, how did you know that was her?
Well, after we went to this kind of Valentine's dinner date that the church was putting on, it was shortly after that that we decided that we would actually start dating.
Okay.
And so we had a couple of things in common after the prayer partner thing, and it's like, okay, maybe we can work this out.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So what were your first thoughts and impressions of her being a single mom? Because of course you knew then at the dance that she was a mother. So being a man with no children, what were your thoughts? Like, okay, this is a woman with kids. How am I going to do this? Or with a child, I should say. One child.
I think it really depends on the man's background, because I came from a background of a large family.
Okay.
So it's 5 siblings in my family, and my dad was my natural father, but not for the other 4. And so I guess it was kind of inbred in me that being a family member or a family type single guy.
Oh, okay.
So that was kind of expected, but nevertheless, for the time before, it was more like dating a single woman with a child. It was more do what you can and do whatever it takes to impress the woman. So in essence, it didn't matter if she had a child or not. It was more like I was going for the woman herself.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, I like that.
That's beautiful. Because a lot of times, when I first became, after my divorce, I was like, man, my thoughts, which is kind of weird because a lot of men do date single mothers, but you always think about no man's going to want me because I have a child. Right. And a lot of men don't want to deal with someone who's not their child. You don't get a lot of men who want to step up to be the dad, for that child. So to hear that, it's like, okay, there's a little hope out there.
Yeah, that's really refreshing. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, because I've heard men say things like that too. Like, man, what about the kid's father or X, Y, and Z? It's like, no, but he said he specifically focused on that woman, which is a beautiful thing, Of course, I know that you wanted to meet the child eventually, being that you were going to be a part of their lives and everything. How long did it take for her to introduce Lachey to you?
Oh, it took several weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, took several weeks, and that's natural. I mean, because it's your child, and this is a new person. You're trying to get it used to them and everything, and so I think our first encounter with her trusting me with Lachey is that I had to pick her up from her mother's house and bring her over to her own house. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so that was the first time Lachey actually had a little accident. She was a little sickly at the time. And so in the car, she vomited.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was my first introduction to her. And that's
like a movie. That's how you child.
Welcome to the family.
So I don't know if there was a test or whatever, but so I calmed her down. Of course she was kind of crying a little bit, but I calmed her down and cleaned her up a little bit. And so,
how old was she?
She was 4.
Okay.
She was 4. And so bringing her to the mom, it's like, what happened to my child?
Oh.
So it's like, no, she had a little accident. She had vomited on herself, but I cleaned her up and everything. But she didn't really care about all the mess that was in my car. But that's okay.
I'm sorry.
You was initiated.
Right, exactly.
I love it.
Okay, Daddy, so how did you know that you and I were a good fit? Because a lot of times you hear the worst stories of kids, you ain't my daddy, and just being so rude and disrespectful to the stepdad. So how did you know that, you know what, that's my baby girl, and we got this, we gonna do this?
Okay, well, for us it was different because you were a child, and so you really didn't have a man figure around. So I think it was easier for you to get used to me. But nevertheless, I have dated other single women with older children, and the whole thing about impressing the mom, you have to get involved with the children. And so that was just my focus, do what it takes to get the mom. So in essence, dealing with the child was a part of it. And I knew that that had to be a part of it because, you know, it's a package deal.
Wow.
So before I met your mom, I had another young lady that I was dating that had a son. And he was about 9. And so getting used to him and doing things with him, because I think for me, being more family oriented, I think it's easier for a single man who's family oriented to adopt the ideal of having a family than it is for a single person who's just after their own self and then dating a lady that has a child. And so that makes a big difference. And especially if he's between being a godly man and just a guy that just have his own centered focus on his career. So it makes a big difference.
Right.
And so that's where I believe that the single women definitely have to know who the man that they're dating and what his goals are, because it's not going to work if you primarily know that this guy is one focused on you and not on your child.
Right.
And so that would be a problem.
That makes sense because it's like you said, it's a package thing. So yeah, you're focused on the mother, but if there's a relationship with the kids as well, it'll make the house kind of havoc, you know, like it'll be just a lot of chaos in the home.
Yeah.
Because the kids and the stepfather is not getting along.
And you can feel that too.
Yeah, definitely.
When the man is around the child and it's no, the vibe is off.
And I think the children actually know. I don't know if it's more instinctively that they know about this person, this guy, more or less, because I was with another lady before I was saved, and she had a child, and that child did not like me.
Really?
Yeah.
And you're so likable.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, wow.
Yeah. So, because I believe, I know for that case, my intentions were wrong.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. That's a sign I don't know about daddy, y'all.
Spill the beans.
Daddy,
I said before I was saved.
But I forgot. You're still a man.
Open up the bag.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah, the child did not like me, and at that time, I didn't really care because I was focused on the young lady.
Wow.
So, in essence, I believe you got to watch out for that.
Okay.
You know, because, you know, the young man is always going to put his best foot forward.
Okay.
But watch your children.
Okay.
You know.
So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Would you advise that as single moms dating that we would introduce our children more, like sooner than we would expect to, just for that purpose?
Do it up front.
Okay.
Do it up front.
Wow.
Yeah. Because even the children, I believe they have some instinct that they can tell primarily what this guy is about before you even actually get really started in trying to know him.
That's good.
And so if there's a sign, you know, even though you, I don't know what you ladies call it this day, if you, I think I've heard the term thirsty.
Yes, that's a term.
You don't want to rush into it because
thirsty.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's funny because I was telling my dad, like, I have a friend. Shout out to Miss Staples, Monique, and she was saying when she was dating someone, her daughter Reagan, whenever the man would come over, the baby would just scream on top of her lungs, like just scream. And she said she had to kind of examine that, like, how come every time this man comes in our house, she's unhappy, she's throwing tantrums, they can't really have a date because she's just not having it.
Yeah.
And she said I guess she had a dream or something, and God had to show her like nothing but red, like this guy's not good for you, stay away. And she just broke it off. And then her husband now, her current husband, like how the Lord just brought it together, and they have 3 children together, so it's 4 in total now. So it's like God's gonna show you, especially when you have kids, and if you're really praying, your intentions are praying for a person who's a good fit for you and your children. He gonna show you.
Oh yeah.
Through your kids. He's
yeah.
gonna use your kids to show you. You know what I mean? So
yeah, a funny story too. My mom always remind me, would be on the way to the wedding when she was getting married to my dad. My oldest sister, who's the oldest sibling, she was 4 at the time, and she cried the whole ride. Like she did not stop. And my sister, she said, was not a crier, but she said she just cried from when they first got in the car all the way till they got to the church.
wow.
So, and you know that marriage ended in disaster. So, I think she should have listened to my sister.
Yeah.
So your sister, your older sister, is not your dad's child.
No.
Okay.
My oldest sister and my oldest brother.
Wow. Yeah. See, so your kids are like, and kids, I believe because their hearts are so pure, like they're very sensitive to spirits and somebody's not right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I thank God for that.
I think you basically gave really good advice, but can you kind of just give us a little bit more? Because you seem like you have a lot to give, so you do, but we want to know what advice specifically would you give to single men dating women with children and vice versa?
Well, for single men, you just have to know, I guess from my perspective, you have to man up. And, you know...
You heard it from a man up. Go ahead.
Well, because my wife is a strong personality, and she primarily was focused on, you know, this is just me and my baby. And so she was more independent thinking. And so there was a lot of challenges, so to speak.
Watch yourself. You got to go home later.
That, you know, it's more like, okay, I will take care of this, opposed to her taking care of this, because of course she was used to taking care of everything by herself. So in essence, I would pay for the meal, you know, instead of going Dutch. More like I would open the door for the kids, and of course you, and the mom. So, you know, showing that the ladies are primarily to be respected. And so, you know, chivalry is not dead. And so treat your wife or your particular woman with respect, and show her that she's a queen. And so as the package deal, you know, especially if you have a single woman with a young lady or a daughter, right? You want to show the daughter how she should look at her particular man. You know, you want to see, as the potential stepfather or whatever it's going to be, is that you want to show the daughter what she should be looking for in a man as she comes up. Whether, you know, she's at 4 years old or at 10, you know, you want to show her for what kind of man to look for. One that's not going to just misuse her, you know, verbally or even physically, heaven forbid. But you want to present yourself as that single guy that's actually for the family oriented.
One thing I like about my mom, though, I was telling one of the maintenance guys, his girlfriend, he's dated a young lady and she has a son, but he's expecting his first child with her. And I was saying how one thing my mom did, and I'll never forget this, I don't know if you remember this, I was trying to be manipulating. I was like maybe 7 or 8, and I heard my mom tell my dad, we are not going to let this child come in between us, because once she's gone, it's going to be you and me. And the crazy part was, in my mind, I never thought, like, whenever my dad disciplined me, you ain't my daddy. But at that very moment when she said that, I'm like, wait a minute. It was just me and you to begin with. Like, he just came 3-4 years ago. You know, that was my process. But I love how my mom never treated my dad as if he was my stepfather. That's right. And because they were on the same page about that, a lot of people didn't know my dad was my stepfather. He wasn't my biological father. And then because too, like he said, because I was younger and I guess I wanted that when I was younger, I never treated him as such. Like, this is my dad. My dad walked me down the aisle, and people didn't understand that because, you know, the programs for the wedding, they were like, wait a minute, Lachey Harris, Tony Baskerville, this ain't his daughter? Like, no. Like, what?
Yeah.
Y'all look alike? I got that all the time. You look just like your daddy.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Like, like, I love my daddy, but my sister looks just like my daddy. I don't look nothing like a daddy. I look like my mom. So I guess we both just chocolate and say
Yeah.
like your daddy. Like, no. But anyway, like, my mother she always said, like, we ain't letting this child come in between us.
Wow.
And that's why now, almost 30 years, they're able to laugh because they're empty nesters and they living their best life. They living their best life with no kids. You know what I'm saying? Because they have that attitude. No, we're in it for the long haul. But two, this is my child. Love her, but you're my husband,
That's
and
right.
we're not letting her come in between our marriage. You know?
That's beautiful. Wow.
So,
But
Daddy,
they still have the key.
yeah, well, we ain't gonna never get the key to the house.
yeah.
Get over it. I told him, I said, that's a family house. That's not your house.
Oh no.
Everybody else.
That is a family home. We grew up in our home. You were not trained flags. Can we look for, or should a single mother be aware of when it comes to men and with the children? Like, what should we look for?
Well, I think the first sign is that you want to look at your child primarily to see if that single man is actually trying to get involved with your child. You know, because you may have your child involved in sports or something outside the home, and you want to see if that single guy wants to be involved in that. And so if he's like shying away, you know, from that, and then of course, while you're dating, you know, the single guy should include the child. If you're going out to dinner and things like that, you know, would you want your child to come with us? He should ask those particular questions.
Wow.
That's good.
Yeah.
So what about a man that's not familiar with that and he don't know like how to gauge it? You know, like how you said, some men don't have that background of like being family oriented, and they might say, well, if I say this or do this, I don't know if she's willing to, you know, bring the child right now. You know.
Well, so that's the good part about that, is that you are a very active participant in actually trying to groom the man. Okay.
Say that again.
Groom.
That's good.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how do they go about doing that?
So in grooming him, there are certain things that you want out of the man. And so if you're trying to say that you want him more involved with your child, then you got to help him to understand that, okay, we are the package deal. So in essence, I want you to participate in raising my child a certain way. Now you kind of know what way you want your child to go. So you want to try to groom him to get involved with those type of things. So say if you have a son and you got him in Little League, right? And so it's like, can you take him?
Wow.
You know, opposed to you taking him all the time to Little League, or a young lady who's going to something dance or something like that. It's like, you know, we would like you to come to our dance and get him involved with that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So you want to try to help him get more oriented in actually doing things with your child. So in case you have to do something, he'll be okay with being
Taking it by
involved
himself.
and taking it by himself.
Yeah, because one thing I don't want to do is, if it's in the cards for me to get married again, still feel like a single mother, where I'm still doing everything on my own, taking them to practice, doing stuff. It's like, no, let your dad take you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
let your stepfather take you. He can take you to practice. While I go get my hair done or this done or take care of business.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
And it's
that's
easy to
good.
fall into that mindset too, like you said. Being a single mom for a certain amount of time, you're like, I'll just do it. I'll just do it, you know.
And then you have a little underlying resentment. Like, how come you never,
Yeah.
you know,
That's true.
how come you never do stuff? I'm always doing stuff, you know. So, yeah. One thing my mom did, and he also did tell me, it was a young man that potentially I was going to be talking to last year. And my mom was like, if you guys start dating, because his son was the same age as my son, they're like a month apart, do family stuff together first.
Okay.
And I was very surprised because I was thinking like, she was going to be like, don't be having no crazy man around my grandson, you don't know him yet. But it was the opposite, because she was like, if you start dating him on your own, women get blindsided. You be so in love, so googly eyed. and then you're not seeing the signs if your son is a good fit for him.
Yeah.
She was like, Trey's gonna show you off the bat if this is a good fit for you guys.
Okay.
And if it's not, then it's just a deal breaker.
Okay.
You can't go forward.
Yeah.
But if you're dating somebody for a while and then you bring your child in, you want that child to kind of fit into your program because you so engaged and so in love with this person, and it might not even be a good fit for your son.
Right.
So that's another thing to consider too.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, also, I think also don't forget that being a single dad or being a dad in a single family, I think it's important to, especially for a young lady, to go ahead and ask the dad to interview the young man. Because you never know, the dad has some insights primarily with the young man, and then it's more like, well, that's the first test. Is the young man too scared to come and approach with the man? The father.
Like you're saying, have the men that I'm considering date to come to you so you can interview him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Because that's a tell sign, was that one, is he going to man up, right? Or he was right away going to tell you that, well, my intentions are not good. Because he don't want to see the dad.
Wow.
Ooh, I ain't gonna ever have no man then.
Yeah.
Because I be thinking like, and that used to bother me all the time. Well, my daddy like, well, what's his intentions? I'm like, Dad, we 16. We 16, Daddy. Like, we just want to go have a burger and come home and have a good, like, we 16, Daddy. But it's good for them to have that practice and for them to, like you said, man up.
Right.
What do you want with my daughter?
Yeah.
Well, it's also to tell you exactly that this guy has a goal. He has a plan. You don't just go in and says, I'm just dating your daughter. Well, okay, well, what's your plan with the daughter, with my son or my granddaughter or whatever, right? So that's all inclusive. If he's just single-minded, it's all about his career, and then you more like, okay, you're the chick on the side, but whenever I need you, then okay, you can come in, and your child is along with it. Yeah, okay, but I'm still focused on what I'm going to do. Well, that's not good.
Yeah, and some men are like that, even though they show face, and sometimes it reveals itself later. So.
Okay, Dad. So we usually do like a 1-minute ministry, and usually me and Miriam, one of us would do it. But since you're here giving us single moms advice, what can our viewers take from this episode with a single man dating a single mother? What advice can you give them, wrapping it up?
Well, for me, my focus was on God first. And being that I was focused more so on the Word of God and reading my Word and being prayerful, your mom was more of a God-given gift.
That's beautiful.
That is sweet.
So, so it was more that, of course, he knew my needs, opposed to me, seeking out my needs. So in essence, it worked out in harmony for us to come together, and I believe because of our union, that it was God giving us the union, and not something that I actually worked out and saying, okay, well, this is a single lady, and she had, okay, we only just do this thing together. It's always God first. I tell anybody that I didn't have anything before I met the Lord. And so I believe that's the way our marriage has been blessed, and that's why we're still together.
That's a wrap.
Okay, drop the mic.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Isn't it?
That was great.
And I think our viewers will be blessed with this segment because, I mean, this can give us something to look forward to too.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
So yeah. But we love you, mommies. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next side.
Be blessed.